talking about the brain stem and everything, I'm a little lost. Did you
Yeah.
do you understand all the brain stem when the right brain and the?
No, I don't get into all that.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't think that's necessary.
he does
for
academic stuff. You know, he has something for everybody, and he has the academic stuff. I just sort of, you know, I don't get into
Yeah,
that
I mean
too much.
that's a little deep for. Well, the thing is, it's that he has such beautiful stories. I mean, just I mean the guy he did the analysis with for like 25 years, and you know, and all those wonderful and just the amazing. I don't know how many he has of these traumatized people. Well, there's one where the stranger's face comes in the window and looks in at him because he's or a girl or something's in pain, you know. And it sort of reminded me of this Kingdom Without
Right,
Sleep.
right.
Yeah.
That book is incredible. It reminds me of I don't know if you ever read any Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle, he's into electricity and the dielectric. And he has this weird story where he was friends with this guy named Farnsworth back in California when the Navy was experimenting on scalar waves. And Farnsworth, I forget who his fathers were, some famous scientist. And Farnsworth was just sort of a junkie and a homeless person hanging out over there. And he wanted to show Eckhart Tolle just how brilliant he was. And he had an old Tesla tube, one of these, what do you call them? Those big,
You
before they
almost
had
sounded like
transistors.
Tesla.
Tesla, yeah.
Yeah, he was the guy.
He had one of these vacuum tubes, and these, you know, they're into the ether, where everything comes from the ether. It's called the dielectric, and Farnsworth created the universe in one of these Tesla tubes.
Wow.
Eric Dollard saw it. I mean, this is one of these great fantasy stories. Nobody was there, but Farnsworth and Eric Dollard. I mean, they talk about this incredible
Is that
stuff.
in the Trauma with the Soul book, or
no? This is Eckhart Dollard. He's on YouTube. Man, he's way out. He's really into Tesla, but those two, you know, they had an adventure kind of like these people in the Kingdom Without Space.
Yeah.
You know, it's just an incredible fantasy. You just mesmerized.
Well, it'll get better, and I'm not going to spend so much time telling the thing. I'm going to try to summarize it a little bit, but I was a little, you know, anyway, as we get through it, it's going to be very profound, you know. And I don't know, the book, you know, I read it maybe 20 years ago. It's all, I think about it all the time, and I don't know why. It's just so haunting.
Well, you know, it's one of these things that's been going on for thousands of years. People have been trying to contact the other side, you know, go be able to communicate between the worlds. I mean, this is ancient. Nobody's been able to really do it other than anecdotal stories, you know, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, and it's a real, it's almost like a fairy tale battle between the old king and the renewal of youth. But then they're both of them have very ambiguous characters. But
Craig, did you find that PDF of you know, the Soul book?
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Yeah, he emailed it. We were
Yeah.
talking about it. It's great.
Oh, okay. Somehow I missed that. I'll go back and look at my email.
Okay, well, I can send you a link to it too. But
Yeah.
Hi, Tim. We're just getting started. We're going to do a Gary dream, and we have a Roy dream too. But we'll see. Maybe if we can do like 30 minutes on each. If you've got a dream, Tim, we can do it. Yours at the 2. We'll try to get 3 dreams in.
Wow.
Okay.
So, all right. So let's just initially just spend 30 minutes on each dream. How about that? You know. So Gary, do you want to put that in the?
Yeah, Oh, I'll
Yes,
put it in the
there.
chat
for
again.
Tim.
Yeah, I'll put it for
Okay.
Tim now. Okay, so I call this one the cafeteria.
Mhm.
So I'm a student at a university. It is a strange university, though, because it is not apparent where or when the classes are. I know I am to work on two different types of energy, both of which are used for healing. I'm working with someone on this task. I'm in the university cafeteria when I receive a letter or a paper that says that both I and my cohort have been chosen to receive aid. I know now that my meals will be covered and his as well. I gather my tray to go look for my friend. I find him and tell him the news, showing him the notification, telling him he will no longer have to pay for his meals. And, apparently, and he travels kind of back and forth from down south to where this university is, which I'm not quite sure where it is. Colorado, I presume, but
Yeah. Well, I like the Arizona, New Mexico link. I'll tell you why in a second, but anyway, and by the way, I don't know if everybody saw Tim's shadow picture, but that was pretty spectacular.
oh, that was that was amazing.
I just love the coloration on it too. So, but also
Great.
the darkness of it too. Well, anyway, let's just start on this one. It's called the cafeteria. We always want to look at the name of the thing. Okay. Now, we are a student at the university. Now, this is a dream that we have all the time. Everybody does, And so it is when you have a dream that you're at the university, particularly myself, I have them all the time. You're at a place of learning, but it's also a place that's isolated from the outer world. It's this, like what they used to call them, hermetic retorts, because this is where you go to consider things that aren't useful to ego consciousness. You go there, you study Heraclitus or Thales or, anything other than what's on the current news, So it's just this place that is far from ordinary reality. It's isolated from ordinary reality. It's a place of learning. And we're going to consider things here that aren't necessarily utilitarian. Okay. Charles is here. Okay. And anyway, so it is a strange university. Actually, almost every university in dreams is like this too. They're all strange universities. Hi, Charles. Can you see in the chat Gary's dream or not? If not, maybe we can put it in.
No.
Okay, why don't we put it in there one more time?
All right.
Sorry.
Oops.
Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see. We got 90. So yeah. Well, maybe if we spend about 23, 24 minutes on each one, we can. If Charles has a dream too, we can get it to his. Okay. Anyway, that doesn't mean we're going to finish them, but we can finish them on Wednesday. I don't even know if we finished your last dream, Tim. I can't remember. But there's a strange university because it's not apparent where the classes are, where or when. So the places and subjects and times aren't immediately available to ego. They're remote from ego consciousness. They really don't concern ego and its inertia or direction. This comes up in the next thing. I think that I am to work on two different types of energy, both of which are used for healing. So this is what is to be learned here. We don't know where or when. Thus, perhaps it's a teaching outside of space and time. We don't know where or when, and it has to do with the polarity, two things and energy. And unless you have two poles, there's nothing happens. You have to have two poles. One pole, there nothing happens. If I have just positive ions, there's no reaction. If I just have negative electrons, nothing happens. You know, so you need these two poles of energy. You know, and I'm thinking that the two poles are going to consider something like these two poles: ego, psyche; consciousness, body; male, female; logos, eros; life and death; time and timelessness. I mean, that's what I'm thinking that the possible two energies are, the flow. And we have a helper at this task. So there's some inner figure, and we find out later where he's from. And he will help us with this new knowledge. And so now we're in the university cafeteria. Okay, this is the place of nourishment, at this place where we're going to learn something we don't know where and we don't know when, you know, but this is the place of nourishment there. And we're going to just learn about two forms of energy, which are used for healing, you know. And so and then we get a letter, or we get some type of notification that the center is going to provide us with soul food. You know, it's going to nourish the soul. It's going to bring the food to the soul. And so all our needs will be met here. The food of the soul will be in abundance. Now we search for this helper to tell them that the psyche is going to provide this nourishment for the soul. And this helper, now if he's from Arizona or New Mexico, and this was what I was thinking, he comes from the land of the sun, Arizona, or he comes from the land of painted mountains, painted by light, you know, the painted desert. I don't know. Have you ever been through the painted desert at dawn? It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I've traveled in both of those states, and the deserts there are pretty amazing.
Yeah. If you can go there before the sun goes above the cliffs, and it's just so it's ambient light, that's when you really see
wow,
the blues and the pinks and the yellows and the oranges and all this. But anyway, that's my first start on it. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, I'm going to need some context from Gary. You know, I don't, you know, I think this has something to do with him that we don't have the knowledge. Could you give us how you integrate some of that dream, Gary, into what you're doing?
Well, I don't know. You know, when I see the two different types of energy, you know, what I think of is, you know, because I've worked with Reiki for the past year, and then, you know, and then I've been doing Kundalini. And really, Reiki's it's all from the outside. And whereas Kundalini, that all comes from the root. So one's inside and one's outside. So if I was to just guess, I would guess those were the two different types of energy.
Can you say those again? Which two?
Okay, so Reiki, that energy is from the outside. That does not come from within you. Yeah, you're just a conduit for it. Whereas the Kundalini, you know, it's really like, you know, if you look at like The Secret of the Golden Flower, that book, you know, that's probably the best guide there is. And literally, you know, you have to feel the energy in the root, and then, like, you know, and just like what they say, you have to circulate the light. And like Kundalini, I mean, like I can feel some things, but, you know, I have a very, very long ways to go, you know. But
it's interesting. energy from the outer and energy from the inner. So this would be sort of the extrovert introvert, you know, that we gain energy from the outer world, and we gain energy. And it also reminds me of the systole diastole, you know, that we are to go up to the mountain and embrace the universe. And then we are to go back to our cave and integrate it or assimilate it. You know, so there's this systole diastole. I mean, this was a rhythm that was very important to Goethe. You know, I mean, he felt that rhythm. So, you know, the different types of energy which you mentioned are a rhythm. You know, they're actually they're inhaling and exhaling, inhaling and exhaling. I mean, this is pretty much what our meditation was on Sunday. What do you think? Or go ahead, Roy. Now,
okay. Well, that gives me what I'm looking for. Okay, we started with me talking about Eric Dollard, and Charles probably knows what I'm talking about. Eric Dollard, who's still alive, and he connects you with all these famous people, Maxwell Clerk, and what's the other guy's name? I can't remember all of them, but Charles knows.
You're talking about the electric engineers?
Yeah, the electric engineers. And,
and
okay. Tesla, I mean, Dollard was in California in this old Navy place where before they had the transistors, and they were trying to develop radio before World War II, send signals. And they had sunk these things deep into the earth to scalar waves. And they abandoned all that, but Dollard got to hang out there with this guy named Farnsworth, who had a very famous father, and Farnsworth just turned into a crack addict or something. But Dollard befriended him, and Farnsworth, just to show him that he was no slouch, he produced an old Tesla vacuum tube, and all the energy comes from the ether, and then it comes into the physical realm and creates time and space and all that. So it's an inside outside thing, like a pulse. And, you know, everything's energy. And the problem is we block the energy. We're not good conduits for energy. We block energy, and Reiki works with that. The Kundalini works with that. We're blocking the energy. The energy's free, all that we could ever imagine, but we don't know how to have it flow through us, or even use it in a way that it can be free. This is what, you know, Tesla's all about. And I'm sure Charles can give us some more on that. But, you know, Gary's in this field, and I think the Dream Maker wants him to continue. And don't worry about eating or whatever, man. You know, you continue this work with the energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's really good. What do you think, Tim? Do you have any thoughts about?
Well, yeah,
energy?
It feels to me like everything you need is already in place. The only thing that's lacking is the connection, because the partner is already there, is already positioned to give his part of the aid, and you've already discovered this extra energy that's available. So now it's just a matter of trying to make the connection. And the opposites that you talked about, Craig, I think all of them apply. Mm-hmm. You know, every one of them is probably it's probably something that will be addressed here. Mm-hmm. And so seems to me that it's not so much trying to find out what the energy will be used for. It's just a matter of making those connections.
And I think the not knowing where or when means that we really are in, we're outside of time and space. I mean, this is energy you find outside of time or space. Do you have anything, Charles? Oh, thank you, Tim. Did you get to
Yeah,
see it?
Sorry, I'm kind of performing my after work ritual. That's become very strict. Give me 1 minute to read it, but all I know is that Roy's really talking my language. Seriously.
Okay.
I'm surprised Roy. I
Well, here's an interesting quote. Space is not important. Counter space is not important. What is important is what happens between space and counter space. And it was Rudolf Steiner that coined the word counter space, which is this place that I'm telling you about. It's the dielectric, it's the ether, it's a 0 point. What happens between that place and space is what's important. That's what nobody's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the place it's also called the middle plane. You know, it's the place where the space and counter space. You know, it's the border. You know, all of these things we're doing is what are called borderline phenomena, and so that space and counter space, you can't be, you know, really in counter space, but you can be at the border between space and counter space.
And where's Arizona and New Mexico? Right on the border.
Yes, they are. And you know, and so it is a borderline person, as someone who comes from the borders. You know, I mean,
and
go ahead.
I was going to say, whenever I think of those states, I always think of the Four Corners too.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There's the heavyweights. There's Dollar in the front.
What did you say, Charles? That you always think of what?
The Four Corners when I think of those states.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
Colorado, New Mexico,
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah, they meet in a perfect quaternity.
Mm-hmm. Is it Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah, or
not Utah?
Not Utah.
Nevada.
Not Utah.
Nevada.
Yeah. Okay.
So Gary, do you have any particular associations with that part of the country?
Well, my sister lives down in New Mexico. And, you know, and I've done some backpacking and stuff down there, although not for a long time. Did some rock climbing down there too. And I got caught trying to smuggle, this is back when I was a teen, I was trying to smuggle some tequila back across the border from Mexico. And I had it hidden, you know, woven in the climbing ropes, and they found it, and they, and I wasn't 21, so they dumped it out.
That surprises me. You know what? We always would go down there and we could buy any pharmacy we want, pharmaceutical, without a prescription. And, you know, you walk right back across the border, nobody would check you. You know, I mean, they knew everybody was, all these old people going into Nuevo Progreso.
Yeah, no, this was very different. We were, you know, I was with two friends, and we had incredibly long hair, and we were in an old VW microbus camper van.
Very suspicious.
Oh, we were beyond suspicious.
Some mean guy.
Yeah.
He's a mean guy, you know. But anyway, let's just, you want to go over it? Let's go over it one more time, okay? And then let's all just see if we have some more comments about it, okay? And try to pull it together. You're a student at the university, so it is a borderline place. A university is a borderline place. It's a place between wisdom and the outer world. You know, it's this place where people seeking wisdom gather. Wisdom is not in the, it is a thing that exists, that informing wisdom of nature does not exist in consciousness. You know, I mean, so this is why it could be, you know, body or consciousness or something. Well, I'm focusing on body because that's what Renata wants me to do all the time. And, you know, she says, I think it's so beautiful. I told her it was the thing that most appealed to me about her. the self comes from the body. It doesn't come from this ethereal pleroma. It is that the self that we experience is the organizing archetype of the body that is organizing our consciousness to be in harmony with it. And because she says, you know, your body is your little earth, and it has its wisdom, and its little deity is yourself, you know, and the guide to it is for the man is the feminine within him, because he's got the feminine within him anyway. He's, you know, we've got the same amount of feminine as the as a woman does, except we're unconscious of it. We're more conscious of the masculine, where she's more unconscious of the masculine and more conscious of the feminine. But anyway, we're at a borderline in the university. It's a strange university, and it is a strange university because there's no wheres and no whens. You know, it's a place where there's no where and there's no when, you know. And so that is what's so strange about it. And then you're to work with the two different kinds of energy. And it could be the inner energy and the outer energy. It could be Eric Dollard is describing, you know, and it's just any opposites: ego, psyche, consciousness, body, male, female, logos, eros, life, death, timelessness, and time. You know, it's just, now there is a helper here, and the helper is, I love the helpers everybody's had. You know, Roy's got a really good helper. Charles has got a good helper. Tim, every once in a while, has got somebody helping him a little bit. You know, I don't remember too many helpers for Tim yet, but anyway, it's a helper. And we got to keep in mind too, I think even you, Tim, I'm just can't think of one right now. Maybe you can come up with it, but the shadow sometimes is the helper and sometimes works against us. But what I think of, that one time you were stabbing the shadow, remember that one? Where you were attacking him with basically logos. Now, I thought that dream was close to the crazy woman dream a little bit. You know, I mean, there was the same aspects anyway. So then suddenly, so that's the first two things. We're at the borderline where there's no wheres or whens. We're going to study two kinds of energy. They're used for healing. Healing means to unite two things which are separated, you know, so that you're informed by both. You're not one-sided. You're going to be listening not only to the outer world, but to the inner world. That's what healing is. It really means wholeness. Healing means to become whole. You know, a person who needs to be healed is not whole. He's broken. He needs to become not broken, you know. So then that's the first part. The second part is we get a notification that the center is going to provide us with the nourishment that it can provide. You know, what kind of nourishment can the center provide? You know, in other words, this will allow the healing, the study or working with this two types of energy will now be facilitated not only by the helper, but by nourishment from the center. That you're both going to be given this nourishment, which is really magical nourishment. It's not, you know, just calories, you know. So, and then you need to find the helper and tell him the good news. And it says at the bottom that he comes from the land of the sun, the borderline region, the border, and also where colors come from, you know. That's just thrown in there, but that's not necessarily so. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, I think we're getting somewhere now. I don't really have anything to add, but I think we get the picture.
Yeah. Tim, do you have any other further thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm assuming that the reference to working on it with someone and the guy that you find in the cafeteria are the same person?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that really poked out at me in reading it again was this idea that you have been chosen. You know, that everybody else is maybe on this path and they have the same resources, but for some reason, the two of you have been chosen and singled out in a way that is unusual for the rest of the community.
Scholarship.
So there's something really powerful about that.
You've been given a scholarship. So in other words, they're thinking that your work is so important that they're going to assist you in this work.
Right.
It's so important. What do you think, Charles? You have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it says, that it's good news. It just message of good news that you're going to have all expenses paid sort of energy training. It is just unclear exactly where and what time, which I think that might just point to that, no, let's say just be aware of the spontaneous and maybe solely on like the practices like Reiki, Kundalini, but maybe pay more attention intentional, spontaneous fluctuations of energy, as opposed to selecting a time and place.
I'm just going to tell Charles.
For working with the energies at any given moment,
Yeah, Charles, why don't you just try to reconnect? It's just a little bit
I
of
think it's just my Wi-Fi. I'm using the Wi-Fi from my neighbor's apartment, so I can't get very close to it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, anyway, that's very good comments too on it. So, Gary, do you have any thoughts about it?
Wow, I didn't even get close to the way you interpreted it. So I didn't know how to interpret it, but so yeah, I mean that was was great.
God is blessing and gracing what you're doing, and wants you to continue, and wants you to, it's kind of describing sort of what you need to do. You need to go into a secluded place, and it has to be a place that's know where and know when, and you need a inner helper. And if you would do this, the inner helper will come from, maybe the land where colors come from. The center will provide you with nourishment that you weren't expecting. It's going to be unexpected nourishment.
Well, I was curious. Gary, did you describe what the helper guy or person looked like? Did you have a description of them and kind of what was this person like? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I really don't remember. I mean, it's like I usually have a really tough time pulling back my dreams. So, in the dream, I'm sure I did know what he looked like, but I couldn't remember when I was writing it down.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, he's pretty vague. He's just known as a helper from the borderline or from the border. That's about all we know about him. We don't know his name. In fact, we don't even know that you have that you actually laid eyes on him during the dream. I don't see that there, but he's there. You just haven't laid eyes on him. You know, he's somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
anyway.
you so much. That was just really
Yeah.
helpful.
Well, yeah, it's let's continue to think about it too. I mean, these dreams, you know, we kind of don't, you know, it'd be nice to spend 90 minutes on each dream, but let's continue to think about it. And if we have some more thoughts on it Wednesday, let's do it. Well, why don't we get at Roy's dream, and then Tim, you'll be up after Roy's dream. Tim or Roy, do you want me to put it in, or do you have it? I'll try to put it in.
Yeah, I don't know how to put it in.
Okay,
I
just
never
give me
figured
one
that out.
second here. Just sit here. Okay. Now this is another patented Roy dream. I mean, it is. I mean,
You can definitely patent.
Well, yeah. I mean, what is very interesting about Roy's dream is the elemental world of flora and fauna. You know, I mean, he has a almost just this mystical relationship with the animal world, and I can never get enough of Roy's telling us about it. Let's see if we can get everything in there. Okay, did you want to read it, Roy?
Sure, I'll read it. Okay, I had this on May the 5th. Coming up on land is the title. I am out on a fishing trip. It is a big boat out on the ocean. For some reason, the captain is steering into shallow water. I see some boats and children snorkeling nearby. Our boat is stopped in shallow water. I notice 2 sailfish in the shallow water, almost up to the sandbank. I tell the captain, but he leaves to go somewhere. I climb down a rope ladder to check out the sailfish. They turn into 2 small mammals, cats. I pet them and they are friendly. I see that they are thirsty and need fresh water. I go to get them a bowl of fresh water. I am cleaning a bowl and filling it with water when this giant worm attacks me. It must be 6 foot long. I manage to pull it off myself and throw it overboard.
Okay. Yeah, now this is a very just let's just I want to maybe just get a picture of the sailfish, because again, this is just a very unique animal. I mean, they're just like the shoe-billed stork, and this is a very unique animal too, the sailfish.
Wow.
You know, I mean, look at that. Now, I don't even know what the purpose of the sail is. The dorsal fin, the very large dorsal fin, because it does not swim like a shark does, or like a porpoise with its dorsal fin above water. You know, it's something that stabilizes it. The other thing, it is an incredibly fast fish. And what do you know what the purpose of the spear is, Roy?
Oh,
is it
yeah.
kill animals?
Yeah,
Catches
they
them
can
with the
thrash
spear.
that around in a school of fish and dismember a lot of, small fish.
Yeah,
and
I
pelagic, which means it swims in the open water.
Okay, now that
like
was
marlin
very
and
important.
different billfish.
That is what is so important in this dream. There's this.
It is not in
just
shallow water.
Not
It's
at
not in
all.
shallow
That's
water.
what I was saying. That you're out on a fishing trip, trying to draw up contents from the depths, but not just any fishing trip. You are on a boat that can go out to the deep open sea. You know, it's going to be a boat suited to the deepest part of the unconscious, far from the dry earth where ego resides. But the guide of the boat is not going out to deep sea. He's coming in closer to where ego and the depths meet, you know, where they at the shoreline, but it is a boat of the deep sea, but it is coming in closer to where ego consciousness is. So the vessel of the deep unconscious and ego have approached each other. Okay. Now, in between them is this pelagic fish of the open sea, the amazing sailfish. This is not a fish of the shallow water, as Roy said. This is a fish of far from land, you know, and yet it is at the shallow. Now the other thing is, what else do we see here? We see the renewal, the youthful renewal in the children snorkeling. Okay, this is the place of youthful renewal, and there's other vessels too here, other parts that are midway. You know, another borderline phenomena, midway between two worlds. You know, at the middle plane. Okay, and now we see these two sailfish, not just one. We see two. Okay, and these they're almost on dry land, not quite. So they have come from the farthest reaches to almost exactly at the midpoint between ego and the far reaches. It has come a long way. The depths, this creature of the deepest part of the unconscious has come far away to be close to our consciousness. Okay, when it has reached here, a magical event occurs. It turns in. Now, this is what is so beautiful to me. The creature of the deepest ocean is related to the instinctive feminine, the cats. Okay, so they're one. You know, the creature of the deepest ocean and the very instinctive feminine are one. They're the same thing. Okay, but this is their form on dry land. Okay, what's their form in the depths? The sailfish. You know this. Now it's one thing to have a sail like this above water, but to have a sail, you know, which usually is pneumatic, has to do with the wind of spirit. This is a sail of the underworld. You know, this is a sail not of pneuma, but of the spiritual aspects of the depths. You know, what's really interesting to me is the spiritual aspects of the trees. You know, there's my spiritual aspect of the trees, you know, the woodpecker, you know, and it's the spiritual aspect of the rooted things, where the sailfish is the rooted, is the spiritual aspect of the great depths. And when it comes to land, it turns into the instinctive, primordial feminine, not yet human, but related to feminine consciousness. Okay, now the guide of the soul guide, or the captain, it doesn't seem to be interested in this, but because maybe he's just not either seeing it or whatever. But ego consciousness definitely sees it, and it wants to go down to the sailfish where they turn into the cats, and it knows that after coming this long way through the salt water, it's going to need fresh water, because it is now going to be a land being, a mammal and a cat, and this feminine aspect. Again, two, you know, whenever there is two of anything, that means it's a very intense energy, and meant to be noticed. Okay, so so we go down to give it the water. In other words, to bring it the water of the dry land, or the water of fresh water, not salt water. Can't drink, mammals can't drink salt water. Sailfish can drink salt water, but not mammals. And then, so that's the, let's just say that's the end of this scene. Okay. The next scene is when Ego goes down to give water to these sea creatures who have become land creatures. A crisis occurs. Now, what the nature of this crisis is, I don't know, but a giant worm. Okay, now the worm, a 6-foot long worm, would be the most primitive form of life. Not even a snake. Okay, at least a snake has a vertebrae, and a snake has eyes, and a snake has that the mouth and the jaws of snakes and lizards and birds and mammals. That was a very interesting development. You can see life with jaws that don't have hinges. They were kind of a different type of a jaw. So now we're seeing the most primitive aspect of life. See, now let's look. First, we got the sailfish, very primitive. That it turns into something more familiar to Ego, the cat, and then suddenly what comes in, and is it a threat? Let's just describe again what it says about it. I didn't mean to keep that up there that long. Let's see. It says, let's get the exact words. I managed to pull it off myself and throw it overboard. So the worm, when you are going to give fresh water to the cat, then you are attacked by life itself. Okay, this is the most undifferentiated form of life. Is suddenly, why is it attacking us? Is it because we approached the depths? Is it because we offered water to the cat? What reason do you think it is? Why don't we let Gary and Tim and Charles say a few words, and then let's hear what Roy always has a different approach to these dreams than I ever thought about. What do you think, Gary?
Wow. Well, first off, I think your interpretation was just brilliant. So, I see some boats and children snorkeling nearby. So the children, that's the new growth. That's the beginning
Renewal.
thing. Yeah. And then, he tries to tell the captain, the superego, but the superego isn't quite in tune yet. And I'm wondering if that comes down to the giant worm. There's still a bit of a split here. And so, because it's like, why is he attacked by an undifferentiated form? It's undifferentiated. And there's a signal in here because the sailfish, which came from the depths, they turn into the cats. And so the spiritual water of the depths is no longer suitable for that. And, part of the differentiation is that they need a different type of water, a different type of spirit. And yet, when he returns to the boat, because remember, while he was in the water with these, everything was good. But when he goes to the boat, now he's in the realm of the captain, who is undifferentiated, unconscious. He's unconscious, and I think that the giant worm has to do with going back to the realm of the ego, the super ego, and there's something there which is undifferentiated. Because, you know, if it had been a snake, you know, then it could have been like a messenger. It could have been bringing something up. But this is like there's something that's undifferentiated, which is going to come back around and bite you, and we don't know what that is. But I think it has something to do with the captain.
Or even an eel.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Not even as differentiated as an eel. Because, you know, a worm, that's of the land, not the water. So it doesn't have to do with the spirit. And, you know, and it makes sense that it was on the boat and not, you know, down where the cats were in the sandbar in the water. So it's like, there's a piece that, you know, that we don't know about Roy's psyche. There's many things we don't know about Roy's psyche, but yeah, it's the undifferentiated thing that is going to come around and bite him if he can't make the conjunction with the captain.
Yeah, it is interrupting his trying to interact with the cat, which was the sailfish, which comes on the land. And then I liked where you were going with the where the captain's probably not very conscious of the dry land, and this and linking him with that, with the worm. The only thing I can think of, sea worms, aren't they in barnacles? Or do you know anything about sea worms, Roy? Or
Well, yeah, there's a lot of types of worms that are in the ocean. Yeah, it's that sea cucumber. You know,
yes, they
doesn't have a skeletal system.
amazing. What do they call? I mean, like for this instance, the
Annelids.
octopus,
Annelids.
and yes. I mean, these are just ancient life forms.
Yeah.
You know, with no cortex, cerebral cortex. Or where's the brain in a squid or an octopus? You know, or jellyfish.
Well, that's a very intelligent creature.
I know, but where's its brain? You know, it's
the eye is very, you know,
very developed. You know, like these. Yeah. What do you think, Tim?
Boy, it's fascinating just to watch the transformation of the sailfish from this deep water creature to the shallow water to this kind of anti-water creature. And the first thing that they want is fresh water. It just makes me think of the cycle of going into the unconscious and the spirit, and then having to kind of recycle that idea in a new way somehow. And the worm is just fascinating. It seems to me that this is a mineral creature, and so its home is not even in the body, but it's in the chemistry almost. And so there's some kind of energy that that is rooted in the very material of a person's existence. That it's a fascinating question to me why it's not a snake, because we spend a lot of time talking about snakes and what that signifies, and the worm is just a even more primitive, even more mineral kind of creature.
Yeah, what if it was a snake? It would be a different dream.
Yeah, and it would probably be bearing some kind of wisdom, some kind of new perspective. And the worm just is sort of a shot out of left field. It's very, very strange.
Well, just say this: it's asexual. It has no gender. You know, it usually divides, you know.
Yeah, the worm is
Yeah.
it's almost like a hologram because
Mhm.
you chop a worm up and you know it just
Then you got
regenerates.
two worms. They become
Yeah,
two.
right.
Yeah.
So there
I'm
is
not
no
exactly
center.
sure about how their sexual reproduction is, but they usually, at least there are some types of worms which are asexual. They don't have genders, you know. So the sailfish becomes feminine, okay, and then here comes this asexual thing that is in between, that is maybe stopping us from connecting with the feminine. You know, I mean, we're going down to connect with the feminine. Someone tries to stop us. Something tries to stop us. Some life force tries to stop us from connecting with the feminine instinct. So anyway, let's hear what Charles says, and then maybe Roy, you can talk about what would stop you from connecting with the feminine instinct. Because and just we'll talk a little bit just about what your relationship with the feminine in dreams. What do you think, Charles?
I really don't know. I mean, I if I was Roy's analyst, I would tell him he needs to find a new analyst because I always have a really difficult time interpreting Roy's dreams.
They're the dreams of a very, you know, I just,
I feel like
go
I
ahead.
can. Oh, yeah. I guess I would just ask what cats like mean to you personally, Roy, because I mean, what are the 2 dreams in a row now where there's been cats in it?
At
It
least
seems to
3.
be like a significant animal to you, and I just want to know what they mean to you.
What all the animals mean. I mean, it is
Oh,
again.
also, is it like just a giant 6-foot like regular earthworm, or is it some type of strange worm that like is some sort of monstrous form?
When it's my turn, I'll tell you about
Well, it's
the
your
worm.
turn.
Okay. It was kind of like a lamprey.
Oh,
But
yes.
the symbol of this worm to me was like Smeagol or Gollum. Are you familiar with Smeagol and Gollum in Lord of the Rings?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's Smeagol and Gollum is a part of us. It's kind of like the shadow. It's like old habits and unconscious parts of ourselves that pull us back so that we can't grow. And Smeagol is very good at hiding and doing this. But when Smeagol saw that I was going to make that transition, he attacked. You know, he was visible. But I knew who he was, and I grabbed him. I threw him overboard. That's my interpretation.
You had the rudimentary feminine. You had the youthful renewal, and you have the rudimentary shadow. You know, the very the shadow figure, which is in this animal form. You know, so your anima is in animal form, and your anima basically went from being a sailfish, which to a to the cat. That's your anima, you know, in the dream, and your shadow is Schmiegel, or this worm aspect, which is just see, now this is what's so interesting about Roy's dreams is the fact that they're non-verbal. There's some words, but usually it is just a drama of uh, of interspecies metamorphoses and presences. Okay, the shoebill stork coming out and staring at us, and looking at the cat, and the dog that became a cat, or the cat that became a dog. I remember it, can't remember. But so anyway, what happens is we're on an individuation journey. We're with the captain, you'd have to say, probably is the self or the wise old man, one of the two. And he's taking us out on this journey of individuation, of and what happens there in the depths is this it seems way more than the anima when you have the sailfish become a cat. The sailfish becomes a cat. Would you say that this is got to be something? It's like the goddess or some unbelievably profound feminine image. What do you think, Roy?
What do you call it? Thermomorphic?
Theomorphic, yeah.
Theomorphic. I have that a lot in my dreams. And I have this theme in my story where I start in the deep water. I've spent most of my life in the deep water. And that's why the captain's not interested, because he's not in deep water. He's not interested. You know, my story's changing. The last couple of dreams, the water's getting shallow, or the water got sucked out of the ocean. You know, the water's starting to disappear. You know, I'm going through a transition. I'm going from deep water to shallow water to land. And this theomorphic creature is taking the form of a cat. And it's a land creature, and that's the transition that I'm making. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it really resonates with me. I'm coming up on the land. I'm going to learn how to walk on legs, maybe even upright eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it makes my heart throb, basically. I mean, these images. And could you describe when the ocean disappeared once more? How did you just
that was that dream
that?
with the copper Hoover vacuum cleaner. I was out on
Yes.
a pilot.
And they
Right.
took all the water away.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, it just makes my heart throb, you know, is because it really is this fact that we're getting away from the deep water. We're getting closer and closer to land. These very deep creatures are becoming land creatures, and the children snorkeling. You know, they are underwater, breathing air. The youthful. So it's like that's the other than the captain. It's the only other human part of it is the swimming around like nymphs. Is the youthful, the divine child, the child of renewal, the child of redeeming that youthful child within us. Now, can you describe you have a special relationship with the child within you, don't you, Roy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's little boy, and little boy is probably going through a transition. You know, he's developing.
Well, don't you think this, Roy? I mean, this is it is a getting, if it isn't a threshold crossing, it's very close to one, you know, and the powerful images, the captain of the deep sea ship, can you say that the shoe-billed stork is greater than the sailfish? You know, I mean, it's another great animal, you know, animal of extraordinary uniqueness. Okay, absolutely extraordinary.
I think it's a really good theomorphic image of personality number 2.
Yeah, and it becomes. I mean, the fact that it is one with the cat tells me a lot about the cat. You know, in your mythopoetic system, the cat is not just an ordinary being, you know. So, well, does anybody else have some comments? And then let's, I mean, I'm not trying to rush through these, but I'd like to, you know, be productive, you know. Anybody have any finishing comments, Tim or Gary or Charles or Roy? Well, let's come back to this if we have any further thoughts about it. Tim, did you have a dream? And I did a session with Charles. I think what it was, it's Saturday, Charles, or Friday? I never did. But we can kind of describe that dream at the end. Yeah, we can describe that dream at the end, unless you have another one, Charles. But go ahead, Tim.
Okay, I'll just pick one here.
I'm always ambivalent about what dream anyone picks, because I just, you know, think that they're, I like I say, it's just a blessed time for me. I mean, I don't really care what they're about. Okay, do you want to read it there? The church.
It's called Church Fair.
Mm-hmm.
My church is having a conference that's part of a street fair, or that has a street fair element. And I'm volunteering to man a table for some issue that the church is working on. I've only dedicated a couple hours to the project. And I'm thinking, oh, I should have come earlier, because here on the last day, everybody is starting to pack up and leave. My table is actually just a cloth spread on the ground with a few items on it. And as time goes on, things get moved around, and pretty soon I lose track of everything. Meanwhile, I talk to various people walking around looking at things. They don't seem to notice my presence very much. This woman comes up and asks questions as if interested in my project, but is apparently talking with her female friend, and just dragged me in by mistake. The friend suddenly has me in a slow dance, just dancing among all these people in this open area. She puts her hand on my butt, which I think is strange, but I guess I don't mind. The whole festival has dissolved into randomness.
Okay, great. That's great. Let's go through it. And again,
can you paste that in the chat?
He did paste it in the chat. Do you see it or not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just go through it again. You know, we just go through. This is how I've always done it: is just go through each sentence, and just do it one at a time. So it's a church fair. So I would say the church is having a conference that's part of a street fair, where the Dream Ego is manning a table for some issue. So a street fair. My wife's small town, Grinnell, has street fairs, you know, and you know, various organizations have tables. Now, in this case, it is the church is having a conference that's part of a street fair, and you're manning.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Street fair is part of a conference.
Okay, can you say that one more time then?
I think it's vice versa. The street fair is part of the conference.
The street fair is part of the conference. The church is having a conference, and the conference is a street fair. So the church has left the sanctuary and went out into the streets, into the flow of life, you know, so that we've left the sanctuary, the temenos, and we went out into the flow of life on the street. And the so there's this aspect of that where the sacred resides is no longer residing there. It is leaving and going out into the outer world, and it is lining the flow of life, the street, you know. And the Dream Ego is there, and for some aspect of the purpose of the conference, the Dream Ego is there to represent it. Now, the Dream Ego's only dedicated a couple hours to the project, and we're thinking we should have come earlier, but here on the last day, people are starting to pack up and leave. So we don't really know too much about the conference, but the Dream Ego is thinking that maybe it came too late, so it's sort of like missed out on the whatever was going to happen. I mean, whatever was going to happen seems to have be not important now because everybody is packing up to leave. It's like you come to you know, say there's this fabulous event, and you come, and they're taking the decorations down. You know, it was some type of a place that was unbelievably festive, and they had a lot of decorations. You come there, and they're already trying to take the decorations down. And we're going to need a little more context, as Roy says. But now the Dream Ego's table is actually just a cloth spread on the ground with a few items on it. But as time goes on, things get moved and you lose track of it all. Okay. So what we were representing. Okay, now let's not even talk about the church. Let's just, we can talk about the church later, but let's just say it is something to do with the sacred space, that space that should be, that is a refuge against the street and the outer world, has now moved out into the street and the outer world. We are at some type of a place, and the items of the sacred space are spread about there, but we've lost track of it. The Dream Ego is out on the street where the sacred world, isolated from the street, has went, and it seems to be fizzling out, and we're losing track of the sacred item. So we've kind of, there was supposed to be something happening here, but it looks like we missed it. Meanwhile, we talked to various people, not seeming to know much about my presence. I've talked to various people, not seeming to know much about my presence. Now, what does that mean, Tim? Meanwhile, I talked to various people, not seeming to know much about my presence. You mean they don't see you, or they didn't notice you?
It's like they're talking to me, but they're talking about other things. Oh, don't you think this necklace is pretty, or something like that?
Yeah. Okay.
It has nothing to do with. I'm just a.
Yeah, they're not. Let's just say that they are not interacting with your vital concerns.
Yeah.
You know, they're acting sort of tangentially. You are sort of left out of it, and this is sort of intimated in the fact that everybody's packing up to leave, to go home anyway, and then you lost track of everything. So, you know, this kind of reminds me, Tim, of the dream where you were in the house, remember? And no one knew you were there, and you felt like you were an intruder. Do you remember that dream?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is some you know, hints here. The woman comes up and asks questions as if interested in my project. So it is a project. So this is something that contribution that you did to the sacred temple. You brought something forth from the sacred temple, which sort of got lost, and the feminine comes up and seems interested in my project, but apparently is talking with her female friend and just dragged me in by mistake. Again, this is the aspect of that. This now do you see some of these things, Tim? There's a recurring theme too in that we're going into the house of for women. We get told we can't go there. We're going to go to the play. We can't go there. Then here we seem, you know, there's this aspect of that there is the goings on of the unconscious and our dream ego don't seem to be in sync. Okay, what dream ego is doing and what the unconscious world is doing almost seems like two different events. At least we're not participating intimately in them in this dream. Okay, the friend suddenly has me in a slow dance. Okay, here, this is so beautiful. All right, now here we go. This is the point of the whole dream. So you were just seemed dragged in by mistake. So now it is the female friend. It's the friend of the woman that was interested in your project. Suddenly, now that's who it is, isn't it? Her friend, her
Yeah.
female friend. And now here's where this is the dream. The friend suddenly has me in a slow dance among these people. She has her hand on my rear end, which, you know, means that she is very intimate with us, you know, in a way of connection. I mean, to put your hand on your butt while you're dancing means this is not just a social dance. This is a dance of union and connection. And then the whole festival just dissolved into randomness. So it's kind of random to begin with, but I think now I like what Roy says sometimes. What was the extraordinary aspect of the dream? It's those last, the second, of the last three senses, those two. I think that's the point of the dream. Okay, and it's beautiful. You know, even though everything else around it is confusing and frustrating. Although what the other thing I think is important is the sacred temple came out to the flow of life, you know, and I think this is connected with that female friend. Okay, I've maybe screwed it up enough. What do you think, Roy?
Oh yeah, you did good. Yeah, the striking thing of the dream is she had her hand on my butt. It's like the encounter with the floozies. You know, we've been here before, you know, and I think that's a theme for Tim too. You know, what do you do with that? You know, that physical encounter like that with it. It's almost like an alien.
I don't think it's sexual though. I think it's more just intimate conjunctio or just. Oh, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, you can't totally eliminate that. You can't say that it's totally that, but you can't totally eliminate it either. That's, you know, one of the crowns in the box is definitely that.
But remember the one that that wanted to make out with us. We refused her, and then she just went and made out with somebody else. You know,
Right.
I don't think this is. I mean, that is just. I think there is something here that's a little more intimate. Although the dream ego doesn't seem to get it. I mean,
No.
the dream ego is not
No.
participating, but she is just, it's a beautiful gesture. It's not crude. It's not animalistic or, you know, unusually forward. You know, it is just, to me, it is just saying, you know, it's sort of a something that a Latin person would do, you know, Italian or a Greek, you know, would do to us. You know, they would just bring us close, you know, I mean, because this is the thing that we do, you know, and it's just this intimate energy. And to me, it does not, it's not crude, you know. What do you think, Gary?
Well, you know, it's the dream has such a feeling of dreaminess, you know, through the whole first part. It's just this drifting, things don't quite make sense. It's just, you know, this land where everything is changing. And nothing, and the really important thing is nothing connects. It's like he's there, but he's there too late. He doesn't actually have a table. He puts his stuff on the ground. That all the material gets lost. And so, and of course, all this is sort of within the intellect. It's an issue. So, what are issues? Issues are things that, that involve the thinking function. And nothing even feels remotely real until, we get to what's probably your inferior function, the felt sense. And so, I think this is telling you that, you're going to have to work with the soma. You're going to have to work on, on the body. You're going to have to go inside that way. And she has her hand on my butt. Well, what's the root chakra? That's at the butt. That's at the tail end of the tailbone. So that's that connection. And the root chakra is all about the earth, and connecting to the earth, and that, that feeling of, security and safety and really, and kind of power. And, and within, Kundalini, and also for Kali, it's like it all begins at the root, and it all begins in the connection to the earth. It all begins really with going inside the body, and it's not so much that you develop the inferior function. The inferior function develops you, but you first have to lend it your attention. So you lend it your attention, and it develops you. So, to me, I think it's actually pretty clear. It's saying, within the intellect, the connection will never be made.
That's so good, Gary. And I'm trying to connect it with Tim's sculpture of the lower half of the woman and the upper half of the woman, that were disconnected. Yeah, that are split. And now what Gary said too is the atmosphere in this dream is beautiful. It really is. I don't care that the dream ego is not connecting with it. It's just a beautiful setting and atmosphere. I can just feel it, what's happening. The church is out on the street at a fair. So there's this aspect of, they block the cars off. Everybody's milling around. It's just a beautiful, pedestrian mall, and which everyone always enjoys, and everybody's out there, and it is our table is there doesn't seem to be everything that we're supposed to do falls a little flat, but that doesn't change the fact that the atmosphere and the setting is beautiful. Ego is just a little bit lost here, and it seems it's one of these kind of you're nowhere or no when realms, but ego is lost here, and it really is lost from the beginning until the end, I think, unless I missed the last sentence. But yet the first thing in the dream that is just absolutely extraordinary is this woman, the female friends of the woman, who is so tangential, sees us and comes towards us and engages in a dance. Not any kind of a dance, but a slow dance. Slow down, and then she puts her hand, the intellect's too fast here. Just slow down. And then she puts her hand on our rear end, which to me is a great symbol. I don't, you know, you might think it's strange, but if that's ever happened to you from a woman being doing that, to me, unless it just, if she does it naturally, you know, I don't think it's a crude. I think it's a beautiful gesture that is not overly erotic. To me, it is more of a connection. Her hand and our, it's not your genital region, but it is the lower half of your body. This is the base point of our connection with the earth. You know, everything above that, it starts to get crazy, except maybe at the level of the heart. But this,
It's
this
like
is,
she's trying to get my attention more than anything
yes.
else.
Listen,
And
look
another
at
thing that
me.
pokes out is this is all happening in the middle of just regular commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's just milling around, you know, going to different places, and here we are slow dancing in the middle of it. So that contrast is really kind of remarkable.
But she is trying to have some relatedness with you. You know, now this is something that the in my active imagination, the soul told me, you know, if you want to develop the feeling function, you have to value relatedness. If you don't value relatedness, then you're not going to learn anything about the feeling function. And so you that's what the feeling function is to value relatedness. And if we don't think relatedness is that important, you know, the one to one, the eye to eye, you know, the slow dance to now I'll tell you some, if you have you ever kissed anyone after you're high on weed, you know, I mean, the lips have their own consciousness, you know. I mean, if it's just this aspect that you're really you know, you're feeling it, you're experiencing it, and you're not discounting this experience, you know. So it seems to me like it was a wonderful invitation, and I think that is the point of the dream, is this is a wonderful invitation. But remember, we didn't follow the woman up to the Spiritus Rector, and there's just been, and you know, I am the greatest at this. You know, I always used to tell people, you know, whenever the woman was in the mood, I was too dumb to notice, and whenever I was in the mood, she was ready to call the cops. You know. So I mean, it was just the aspect that I'm too dumb to pick up the signals, you know, that are coming, you know. And I mean, that was been the story of my life. Yeah. What do you think, Charles?
I don't know. I've just been thinking that, well, first, I guess, are you a part of a church council?
Yeah.
Like in waking life?
Yeah, I'm working on projects with them quite a bit.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like it's sort of a anima trying to redirect attention. And that, I don't know, there I get a sort of collective feeling, or from the stream, or like a conscious attitude towards the collective, or, and I don't know, I think the idea that it's a church
But yeah,
council, very I don't know, it makes sense. It's like I guess, you know, you get married at a church, it's about, you know, union, the whole idea of Christianity to me is about union of the masculine and feminine to create the divine child.
Mhm.
I feel like that's what the whole religion is centered around in a way. And that she is sort of saying, hey, like, you know, take this energy that you are flowing out in this sort of, I don't know, extroverted kind of collective way. And, you know, I think that, you know, the dance does sort of have sexual connotation, but not in a, you know, physical form. This is just the inner union that she's trying to, you know, she's just giving you signals, and that she's wanting a, you know, just an inner relationship. But yeah.
Well, here, I'll show you a picture of her. Anima has to be excluded from the Christian frame. She's eternally a heretic and doesn't fit at all. She's a perfect pagan in more or less open revolt against the Christian point of view. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of this woman who's at the church fair, you know, and kind of just, you know, comes up and grabs our butt. But I mean, the idea though is, and Tim, I'd like to hear what you think too, but, or everybody, let's have some closing, and then maybe, I don't know if we got a couple of minutes, we can talk about Charles' dream, but the aspect of the church fair, the ego's kind of lost there. It's kind of this dreamy atmosphere, you know, and suddenly everybody's going home. It looks like it was not worth anything. This woman starts talking to us. We notice her female friend. The next thing you know, you're in a slow dance and she puts her hand on your butt. I mean, this is the one connection in the whole thing. And yet the dream ego just thinks it's strange. It doesn't. What would be another reaction, Tim?
Well, it's too bad that I didn't respond more favorably and you know,
just drop everything you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And look her right in the eyes. And I mean, this wordless communication of we've known each other for thousands of years. And you and the energy that happens between on date night. I mean, I don't know. I just think date night is so delicious. It's just this wonderful, delicious feeling of that. Just you know, the grazing of two knees touching, or you know, just not anything, you know, overtly physical, you know, but just this wonderful deliciousness of being close to that. Isn't that beautiful that you're just close to this other gender, and this wonderful, delicious energy comes up. It doesn't have to be sexual, but it is absolutely delicious. What do you think, Roy?
And there's a number of these dreams that you know, I'm left, I wake up and I think, oh my God, how come I didn't go into that relationship more? Because these women just over and over, they keep giving me this invitation. I just don't take it.
Well, see, in the dream ego, this isn't your ego, okay? This is what the dream maker says, this is my interpretation of you in the outer world. This is what I think you do in the outer world. So, you know, it's a commentary on us. And I think what needs to happen is we need to slow down and to be in the moment, you know, deeply in the moment, and forget about everything else. The only, you know, this analyst told me that he had this woman friend who every moment was the eternal moment. and nothing before or after mattered. It was just now. And this was the absolute, that like, let's say you only had 2 minutes to live. And you know, the God said, we will give you 2 minutes to be alive. Now experience life, you know. And how do you do that? Roy, let's hear just a little bit from everybody. Anything you want to say? Roy?
Okay, Tim says, I guess I don't mind. Now that's a great example of an understatement, which is the opposite of hyperbole. I mean, that's really good. That's my last comment.
Yeah. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I think I've already said it, but you know, it's literally a sign to go more into life and out of the intellect.
I think to be conscious of the experiences that we're having. I mean, this is something, it's not just Tim's problem. It's everybody's problem. Yeah. Charles, did you have anything?
No, that's all.
Okay. All right. Well, Tim, how about you got the last word? Any comments?
This kind of fills me with joy because in my conscious life, I'm kind of going the opposite direction, trying to become, you know, more responsible and more, you know, commendable, I guess. And what my heart wants to do is what the dream is saying. Just sink into the stuff of life and forget about what other people say. Forget about the commerce that's going on.
And not even one word needs to be spoken, but just that delicious experience of relatedness and being alive. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that was that last. That is the meaning of the dream, I think. Well, next time we'll talk about Charles' dream. The grassy fish finds a fish that has grass growing out of it, or any other dream you want, Charles. So you're next. Well, thanks everybody. I mean, thank you for these fabulous dreams. And sorry we didn't get to yours, Charles. But we'll see you next time.
All right.
Okay. Well,
care.
bye everybody. Okay. See you later.